The yard when I get this need to stop. I certainly appreciate Kyle and the boys and all the Randall family and all the Boy Scouts are doing. And I appreciate what the Boy Scout leaders are doing to lead these boys in the right direction when they're young and let them figure things out for themselves. And no matter what kind of job you get into, if you want to progress, you have to be able to think ahead a little bit, not just spur of the moment things. And I think they did an excellent job on the description I gave them. I couldn't have done that good myself. The only thing is it's too new. I don't know who built this wash house. This is very similar to the wash house. And I know the question that Cheryl has asked me already, why we went down here in the woods to wash. Actually, it wasn't woods, it was pasture then, and hog pasture over there, and horse pasture here. And we lived way up on the hill up there quite a bit. Pretty good walk up there, a quarter of a mile, I guess, almost. And the reason, there's one simple reason we came down here to wash, and that was find the water. We lived up on the hill there, and I guess these two, Little White Oak Creek was over on that side, Big White Oak was on that side, where the lake runs now on each side. And we didn't have well drillers in those days. I was born in 1924, and well drilling wasn't, as far as I know, didn't have any at that time. We didn't have electricity, and we had to wash for 11 people and worked in the farm and the sawmill, and they got sort of dirty. Had to take a bath once a week where we needed to not. And this well we had up there was 60 foot deep, walled up with rock. And you imagine how hard it was to dig 60 foot through rock, and got just enough water to drink is all we had up the house up there. And it was either carry the water up there to wash the clothes or bring the clothes down here. Which you think would be easiest? Yeah. Bring the clothes down here was easiest, wasn't it? We had this house here, and we had right out in that area there, we had clotheslines, posts, and where we hung the clothes up to dry. And right over there we had a big vat where we dressed hogs in the wintertime and used the water to clean the hogs out and get them ready for the smokehouse. And right across there we had a big building and had a great long 20-foot vat that cooked syrup in, cane syrup. And up on the hill there we had the mill, and it had a long pole on top of it. The mule would go round and around all day, and the cane was laid between the mule path and the mill. And one of us sat on a stool there, stick the cane in there, and the juice would come out in a pipe, run down here to a barrel, and the cooker would stick it up to the barrel just the right amount to get the right amount of juice through there. When it worked down to the other end of the vat, it'd be good syrup. You had to have an experienced person do that. It was about 20 foot long, had the valves in it about this wide, and the bottom was metal, and it had a block thing with an arm on it, and it had an opening at this end, and the next opening would be at that end of that divided, and the other would be at this end. You take that block and run it through there,
it was like a
pull it back this way, carry it back there, just at the right speed. When it go out the other end down there, it go into the syrup containers. And the experience, my uncle and my dad was the syrup cookers, and we cooked syrup for the coal community, for him and us, and for the other community. And this is sort of community center. This parking line of our line ran right up through here. The Buckles line ran cornered right up there, and the Smith and Holland's cornered right over there. And we had 4 plantations in this park area not all the land was in the park area, but the houses were. And I just wish that the power company and all would have known this part would have been here, because there was so many buildings in this area that could be used just like you're using this building here at the original state. Our cow barn, for instance, had one log barn, and that must have been 200 years old. And it had upstairs, put the hay in, cows downstairs, had stables for milk cows and other areas for the regular cows. And it had on the rack, on the back it had a rack that came down from upstairs. We'd throw the hay down from upstairs down into the rack. And over on this side it had a long trough, about twice as long, about as long as that section right there, for the cows to eat out of. You know what it was made of? It's hewed out of a log.
Oh, wow.
And the log was about this big, and if you want to see it, you go to my house. We swiped it, carried it up there. But anyway,
Wow. That's big.
We used that type of thing a lot in that day. Things have changed today from what they were then, and I hope that this and other things here would be, let the younger people and the older people know and remind them of how it could be and how it was in Depression time. I'm talking about Depression time. I'm not talking about before or after. And it started in the last part of the 20s, of 1920s, and lasted through the 30s. And with my job, when I was about 10 or 12 years ago, I was just big enough to pull that bucket up and down and get water and pour it in the tubs. And my job was to get up and put a big fold of clothes I could carry in a big bag or a sheet or something, and come down here. And when I got here, I was to put the clothes up. And my job was to draw that water and take it over there and pour it in that pot, in the wash pot, and fill that up, and fill up 3 tubs for washing, and then build a fire under the wash pot, and put the fire under from the outside, and have it ready when my sister Charlotte, who was the boss lady at that time. She was 8 years older than I, and I was around 10, 12 and along there. And she would get up the rest of the clothes and come down. We had to do it for 11 people. That was a pretty good bunch of clothes, you know, even though we didn't have many in those days individually, but added together, and it made a lot. And they were pretty dirty when we took them off. And when we got them here, that first tub was scrubbing tub, and that pot was a boiling tub, and we had homemade soap. We didn't ever have a bulk soap and the detergents like they have today. My dad made the soap, and I can't tell you what he put in it because I didn't ever make it. But he made it in a pot about so long, about the size of that, a flat thing, and made it about that deep.
You didn't have lye, you put ashes.
And let it dry out, and then cut it in blocks.
Oh, yeah.
And you take one piece, and you get an old pair of overalls that we wore, and those dirty and greasy. You pull the overalls up on that scrub board there and look for the bad spots and rub that soap on them, you know. And then you take that board and stick it down in the tub on one end and the other end, and you get up there and do like that. Do like that till you loosen up that dirt or grease, whatever it was. And maybe then you put it in the pot and boil it a while. And then you take it out and put it in the tub to rinse it. And we had at least 2 rinse tubs. And when it got through that, we didn't even have a roller to drive. We had to take them up and do that over the tub with them, put them in a bucket or something, and then when we got a bucket full, we go out up here and hang them on a line, put clothespins in them.
Yeah.
And it started, we'd go to first clear day in the week to wash day. It was a day's job for the 2 of us. The rest of them was out in the field working. And the only thing I liked about it was it was a whole lot better than hoeing cotton or doing something like that. In the end, that I didn't have to get in the sun except when I went out to put the clothes on the line. And that not hot sun is something else in the hot weather. But anyway, that was a day's work, and my sister would do the fine point of all the washing, you know, and all, and I would do the dirty work. But there was a job to do all that scribbing and all, and then we tried to get it done by lunchtime. Sometimes lunchtime pretty late. Then we'd go to the house, and it was up on about almost a quarter mile right straight up that way, and we'd go to eat lunch and take a little bit of break, and then we'd have to come back and start gathering the clothes when they got dry and carry them to the house. And then it was ironing time, and mine, that wasn't my job. I didn't know how to iron, didn't want to learn how to iron. But we didn't have an electric iron like I got at my house now, and I don't even use that. You tell by my shirt. But we had what they call flat irons, and you had to we set them on the cook stove. The cook stove was a wood stove. You set them on the cook stove and get them hollowed up to iron, and or either put them at the fireplace and slide them up to the coals and let them heat that way. It's the only way to iron it. Like I said, that was the women's job, and a lot of times they didn't even get through that day. They had to go to the next day. Wow. But actually, the wash day was a work day, and it really wasn't fun, but it's sort of amusing to think about it now compared with others. I'm about normal, I guess, and I got a utility room, and in the utility room I got a freezer locker where I freeze my food. We didn't have that. We didn't have a refrigerator or nothing. And but I got a sink in there, and then right beside that I got a wash machine, and all I do is I get a little dirty clothes. It might not be but 1 or 2 pieces. It might be 5 or 6. I take them, put them in there, and put a little detergent in there, and push the button, and I don't do nothing else till the thing tells me they're ready. And then I don't hear it half the time. But when it gets ready, it's right beside all it's a dryer. All I do is take it out of that, put it in the other, push another button, and the thing is sealed. At my age, I don't always remember. I don't do it. It's just a minute thing instead of a day thing when I'm trying to get the point. It's a minute, so I don't even do enough minutes with it, just me, myself, to even work about it. I try to wash my sheets and pillowcases same day and put them back on because I don't want to sort them out in the closet. We got 4 bedrooms and 3 different kind of beds and all different size sheets and all that. So I found the easy way is to take them off in the morning and put them in the washer and put them back on there at night and go to sleep. Well, the last 2 times I did it, I got ready to go to sleep, and I turned the top cover back, and I had the sheets, and I hadn't even put them in the dryer. I just put them in the washer. Last time I did. You see how much thought and all that I had to put in the washing compared with the day before. And everything you think about, just about from the early 30s, it was Depression time, and everybody was broke. 90% of people were broke because the banks went busted, and anybody that had the money in the bank lost it, and the rest of them was all in the same boat. Just about. We had 4 families live right around here. They was all about the same boat, and we didn't realize it to that extent how poor we was, but we grew everything we ate, just about everything we ate, from the meat, cows, hogs, sheep, and everything else, and all the vegetables. About all we bought was a little sugar and salt and pepper, things like that, about all we bought. And people can live like that if they have to, and we had to, without or not have anything. And I appreciate what you've done, Tyler, in bringing this back, and I hope it will help some of the people that go along this trail here to be thankful for the advantages we have today compared with the advantages some of our forefathers had. It wasn't quite that bad before the Depression, but it wasn't good at all. And to show you the only reason we came down here to wash, as soon as we got electricity, it went up that way. And we drilled a well. As soon as it got started to drill a well, we got electricity. We started out before we got electricity, and the pumps so hard we didn't ever change the wash place. But when we finally got electricity, that was in the early 40s, we changed back up that way. Of course, we had some intermediate washing. When we had the pump up there, we moved up there temporarily and got a gas washing machine and had a wringer on it. It had a dry, but it had a wringer. And that was a step up, but it was a small step. Time you pump pump water on that pump. And finally, my dad bought one of these power plants, sort of like we use now where the power goes off, except it was more complicated and bigger. And
a generator type thing?
Yeah, and it was DC current instead of AC. Most people don't know what that means. DC is direct, and AC is alternating. And I was 16 years old, so wrong then, and I was a man that had to go out there and start it. Every time you cut on a light, I had to start it on. You cut on that, anything, I had to start that, then I had to go set it off. So we didn't use that light, especially we wired about 2 rooms in the house overhead, and that was about it. But we did get a DC pump to put on there and get us some water out of that drill well that we drilled later. And it went from that until I went off to World War II, and I don't know when my dad he started building this house that I live in now, moved to New York, and for his retirement house, and he built a bathroom in it, which we never had, and a utility room, which we never had. And that was a huge step forward in that day. And it's just a common thing today. And you know, as we look back over our forefathers, we ought to be thankful for what they've done for us over the years. And we ought to be thankful for what people figure out and new things they think of. My wife tried to get me to quit planting a garden about 10, 15 years ago. She's been dead 2.5 years now, but and I wouldn't try. When it comes spring of the year, I just got to go plant that garden. And the deer are so bad around here. This place here don't let them hunt in here. They're so bad they come up there and they eat up all the flowers, the garden, and everything. A deer will eat one thing one day, one the next. He's sort of like people who go to these restaurants where you pick out what you want. You go one meal, you get this, and go to the next meal, you get this. Well, that's sort of the way a deer is, and they eat up everything they have. And I was out there last week fixing up my electric fence, trying to keep the deer out. My garden was coming up a little bit, and I said, well, this is one thing we didn't have is deer. I never saw a deer when I lived here. I left here in 1974, and I never saw a deer until I got to New Hill. And they have migrated in here. I was down here a couple of years ago and looked over there in the cotton patch behind the old barn where we had, and I saw a bunch of deer, and I thought they'd gone in the cow business. It looked like a herd of cows over there. That's how many deer they had down here. And but I was fixing the fence there, and I looked over there, and there was a broom straw over there. It's about waist high. I don't know if you know what broom straw is. It's brown this time of year. It's about this high. And that's what we use for brooms to sweep the house. Was to get that broom straw and tie it together and sweep the house.
Yeah, okay.
And then we used the stick. We used the sweeping broom, brush broom to sweep the yard. We didn't have grass in the yard. We'd pull up the grass and the weeds and sweep and keep the dirt clean, get the leaves off and all the trash off the trees and all. We didn't have yard. That's a change we got now. We didn't have back then. Most of the people swept the yard with a brush broom. And things have really changed, and most of them are for the good. A lot of things, not mechanical things like I'm talking about, but a lot of other things that may be bad today. But most of the things are so much better today. We all should be so thankful for it. And I appreciate it so much. What you did there, Taylor, I couldn't have done it any better myself. And if I'd done it, it wouldn't look like that news on the I'll say one more thing. I don't know who built the original one here. Was my grandfather was in the Civil War, and he came here after the Civil War and bought this land here. And I don't know if he built this, the one we had here, or if some people lived here before, if they built it, or my daddy built it, because it looked about as old then as I look now. And so I can't tell. So many questions I was asked him now if I had it back that I'd like to.
Mr. Womble, you talked about raising cane. Where was the cane grown?
Cane mill was right up on the hill here.
Now, where was it grown?
Where was the cane, the sorghum grown, the plants?
Sorghum's cane, yeah.
Yeah, it was planted all around here in these fields.
No, you didn't plant it down here, just planted it
Our farm
down
was
here.
on the other
We
side of
planted it
that
in
creek over
fields
there.
also.
Okay.
You planted it in the field, it grew head high, you know. It had a seed in the top, and it had leaves. You cut it down, strip the leaves off, cut the seed out of the top, bring it down here and pile it there where you could stick it in the, this mill was round about this big and about head high. It had a long pole stuck out that way where you hooked the mule to. It had a small plug and a right angle, and he tied the ring to that, and he had to go around and around all day. And you sit there and stick that cane in that mill, and the salt would go out the other side, and the juice would run out into a pipe that ran down. The cooker was right over there, just across the brinks right there somewhere. The cooker was right there, and then the syrup would run out at the end of the cooking, and catch it in a vessel. And we cooked cane for the whole community. My dad and my uncle, as I said, was the experts at that. You had to know exactly how fast and carry it through to have it, keep it from burning, or it wasn't good burnt, it wasn't good, it wasn't cooked right.
A lot of experience.
You know, just like a lot of things today, I found that out since I've been trying to cook it. I can't get it just right, none of it.
But where did you raise your other cane when you fooled around and got in trouble? Where'd you do that cane?
The stalks.
No.
Oh, you ain't
Raising cane.
He's trying to get you in trouble.
making his
Well, you know,
Switches.
I grew up in the switch days.
Yeah, wasn't a lot of cane going on.
And when I did something wrong, most of the time, I had to go get the switch. I started getting a little on to start with, and that didn't work. And I finally decided to get a great big one, and that was best. It was because I couldn't use it much.
Miss Emily, would you like to say anything?
Memory's gone.
He's much better at talking than I am. He's explained a lot of it better than I could.
We ate syrup
Wanted to know
all
where
winter.
we grew
all
this
year
stuff.
round.
All our farmland was on the other side of that creek over yonder. Because on this hillside up here, it wouldn't grow anything but some cotton, and people had stopped growing much cotton then. We had one cotton patch up here behind the barns, and so we had to go about half a mile to get to our farmland. And I don't know what I was going to say. While you were talking, I've already forgotten.
My dad,
I was going to say, you know, know, y'all think that you're in the back of nowhere down here because you can't see anything. But if you can imagine, there was no pine trees in here unless it was a little one. There was just a hardwood tree here and there. We could look right straight up there and see the barns, and if the barns hadn't been there, we could have seen the house. And they kept it all cleared out. It was always, you know, just some trees here and there, and it was a pretty place. I mean, you could just walk around and enjoy it. And I helped with the washing some. I was the baby of the family, and I did some of the rinsing and a lot of the hanging on the line and taking down from the line and helping with it. And but it wasn't like this. I can't believe how big these pine trees are, because they weren't here when I was a child. There was just a hardwood tree here and there, and I just can't. I could see why you feel like you're lost in the middle of nowhere, but it wasn't. Back then it wasn't. But I have really enjoyed this.
My dad knew how to keep everybody busy. And when I come along, I was the last boy, and all the rest had left. We had to work on the farm until I was 21, and then we could free to go. And we had a sawmill and farm and all, and I was the last one. I had to milk the cows every morning, then go out and work all day, and then milk the cows again at night, and just like that. And when my dad would give you a job working pine straw or cutting bushes or something if he didn't have nothing else to do. And he gave me a job cutting bushes down there in the pasture. Somebody asked me about it, so I'm going to tell it now. Down there in the pasture, it's about a mile over on Little White Oak Creek from here. He had the cow pasture. The bushes grew up in it, sweet gun bush. He had this bush axe, sharp on one side. I was down there cutting bushes, and I knew I'd never get through with that. I was so tired of it. We had a gunner bell up the house about a quarter mile on the hill up there. And that bell rung, so I went to the house to get lunch. And as I did, I went by the mailbox, and I got my invitation from Uncle Sam to report to the Army. And I had laid my bush axe down where I heard the bell. And I was overseas in combat, got a letter from home. My dad wanted to know if I knew where the bush axe was. I went back to that bush axe. I weighed 128 pounds straight when I went in the Army. And most of the boys, when they come out of basic training, lost weight. I weighed 170 with my clothes on. I didn't smoke or drink, but I was filling my pockets up with food, and they have a break every 30 minutes to have a break every hour, a 30-minute break, and give them time to smoke and all that. I'd be eating instead of smoking. And, so I really called it working hard. Them had already gone off to nursing school. She wasn't 21 either. And the girls didn't have to stay to 21, but the men did. And I was here by myself. I had a date one night, and the girl over here, the first date I'd ever had with her, and I had milked the cows all after dark. I got there at 9 something, and she was going out the door with another man. I didn't see her no more. So I didn't have it too good. It wasn't too much fun really, but as I look back on it, it's like comical. Any other questions?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Wonderful memories of my childhood, but you know, children don't have the responsibilities of adults, and I often think I'm so glad I wasn't an adult and a parent in those days. But as a child, this was just heavenly around here. You could go anywhere you wanted to and felt free, and I'm still breathing over the creeks that are covered over in water. I don't care about this water out here. I want to see the creeks.
Only time we had to play was on Sunday afternoon. We didn't have any breaks during the week. Right down there where we ate a while ago, down below there where the water is, there's a pasture down there. Mr. Bud Holland lived right there where that table is. And he had a pasture down there. We played baseball down there on Saturday afternoon sometimes. And we had to make our own balls, take the bucket wide and grind it around something. If we find something round, it would help put in the middle. And we had to use sticks and planks for bats. We didn't have any money that parents didn't have money to buy us things. And we boys would go down there to the creek right the other side where we ate down there. Big hole. We go down there and go swimming in our birthday suit. We didn't have a bathing suits back then. And the girls got upset about it. They talked about it. They thought if they bought them suits, they wouldn't trust them down there unless by themselves. And they didn't trust us to go down there with us. But anyway, we was down there at that hole one day, and it felt cold in the winter time because it was on a hole that was deep enough to swim in and big enough around here. And we heard them holler and said, "We're coming." The girls were hollering. And we jumped in the water. We got in there, stuck our heads out. And they come there and stood on our clothes and laughed at us. Laughed at us about a half hour. So we got tired of staying in there. We got together and we said, we're going to count to 3 and we're going out. And we kind of 1, and looked around, kind of 2. No, dude's gone.
Good story.
But it wasn't really fair to them, but it wasn't our fault. It was the fault of conditioned times. Mm-hmm. It really wasn't our fault. The girls didn't go swimming.
Well, thank you for sharing your thoughts and your story. They're really precious.